Good evening and welcome to the Port Clinton City Council regular meeting of July 9th, 2019. Please stand and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, the Lord's Prayer, and taking a moment of silence for our military veterans and first responders. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Gabe Belo.
Here.
Bill Friedman.
Present.
F. Gilman. Here. Luann Hickman.
Present.
Brian Hill.
Here.
Margaret Phillips. Here. Lisa Sardi. Present.
Council, you did not receive any minutes this evening. The chair notes that certification has been received regarding the compliance with the rules and notification of this meeting. This evening we have no guest presentation and public comment. We have no public comment this evening. So we'll move to the mayor's report.
Thank you, Madam President. Hello, everyone. Sad news to report to start off with. Although he lived in Portage Township, Dennis Pito was a strong advocate for the city of Port Clinton. He was a reserve police officer for over a decade. He was very much involved in St. John Lutheran Church with their Facebook page and other activities that took place at that location. It was sad news I learned yesterday of his passing. One of Dennis's best claims to fame, he was a rabid Ohio State fan. He thought I liked Ohio State. This boy truly did bleed scarlet and gray. He actually introduced me to tailgating at Ohio State. So I haven't learned any details of arrangements. I think many of you in this room know Dennis, and he will be sorely missed. Long roots in our community with his family, and I wish him and his family, my thoughts and prayers are with his family and his friends. On a more happier note, I would like to congratulate my parents, Snip and Sharon Snyder. This Friday will be their 50th wedding anniversary. Yes. There is a special surprise for them that will be in the downtown area. I hope everybody can keep it a secret. I'm not going to say what it is. They don't know what it is. But they'll be introduced to that on Friday, the 12th. Hope everyone enjoyed the 4th of July festivities in town. The 4th of July committee has been working year-round to make sure those activities were safe and enjoyable and very family-friendly. Several years ago, when the current committee looked at providing activities for the 4th of July, we used a letter that John Adams wrote to his wife, Abigail, just after signing the Declaration of Independence. And I'm not going to quote it because I can't remember it, but in essence, he talked about the Independence Day as being a date of solemn reflection and celebrations from one end of this continent to another. Talked about the communities using bonfires and schwees and parades and illuminations to celebrate the great creation that had just been established from that day forward forevermore. Of course, then he thought July 2nd would be designated as Independence Day, and as we all know, it's July 4th. One of the new additions this year for the 4th of July festivities was the Ohio Flags of Honor. This is a traveling memorial started by a Gold Star family to recognize the sacrifice of 301 Ohioans who have lost their life in service in the global war on terror since 9/11. Most communities have 12 to 15 months to plan to bring the flags of honor into our community. I received a phone call about 5.5 weeks ago from the organizers, one of whom the treasurer of that organization, lives here in town, Robert Ward. Robert is a volunteer firefighter for the Port Clinton Fire Department. He just earned his EMT card. He served 6 or 7 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. He was in the military from 01 to 14. His MOS, which is military speak for his job title, was medical specialist. He was a combat medic. He was there. He actually has 2 Purple Hearts to his name for his duty overseas. And when I first sat down with Robin, he talked to me about what typically happens at an opening ceremony and what typically happens at a closing ceremony. There was no conversation about floods and thunderstorms, but those happened here in Port Clinton. But he talked about all the things that should happen or typically happen, and I got very, very nervous because we only had 5 weeks to plan this. I had been to a Flags of Honor ceremony, but it was in Norwalk, Ohio, and I went there representing the Port Clinton Fire Department for traffic control, so I wasn't in the actual ceremony. I didn't get to see all that stuff. A week ago Friday, I had the opportunity to go down to Willard, Ohio, and watch their opening ceremonies, and they had 15 months to plan, and Flags of Honor had been in their community 3 other times. And they had 4 military units, they had a riderless horse, they had the Knights of Columbus out there in full regalia with their swords drawn, they had a country Nashville artist there to sing a couple of songs. They had chairs for 1,200 people, and it was standing room only. And then I got really, really nervous, thinking, oh my God, how are we going to put all this together? I only have a week, and we don't have. They had an actual bagpiper in a kilt. Life flight flew over, stopped, and dipped its nose. I'm like, oh my gosh, how are we gonna come close to this? If you had the opportunity to attend our opening ceremony, most of the flags were already posted out on the field, with the exception of the 3 Gold Star families that were in attendance, and another 8 or 10 that requested to post a specific flag for someone they knew. In Willard and in most other communities, they ask members of the audience to come up and take a flag and post the flag. I had an opportunity to actually walk through that line twice, and the moment I grabbed the first flag, it was about 0.1 seconds after I grabbed that I realized the pomp and circumstance was nothing. It was all that name on the flag. And I just want to share with you 2 of the names, the 2 names that I carry. Sergeant Jeremy D. Barnett, U.S. Army, from Mineral City, Ohio, killed in action February 24th, 2007, at the age of 27. Jeremy was a member of the 3rd Battalion, 8th Cavalry Regiment, 3rd Brigade, 1st Cavalry Division. He was wounded 3 days prior to his death in India? Iraq. Thank you very much. He passed away at Limestall Regional Medical Center in Limestall, Germany. He was not assigned to be on patrol that day, but he volunteered nonetheless. At the time, he left behind his wife, Stephanie, who was a member of the Texas National Guard. He was a 2000 graduate of Warren G. Harding High School in Warren, Ohio, and immediately upon graduating, enlisted in the U.S. Navy, where he spent 4 years aboard an aircraft carrier. Immediately after that tour, he switched to the U.S. Army with the intention of making the military his career. In his final email home, he told his father, he said, "Dad, I look forward to coming home, going hunting and fishing when I get back." Lance Corporal Michael J. Smith, Jr., United States Marine Corps, Wintersville, Ohio, killed in action 4/17/04 at the age of 21. Michael was a member of the 3rd Battalion, 7th Marine Regiment, 1st Marine Division, 1st Marine Expeditionary Force, killed in Al Anbar Province, Iraq. He enlisted February 9, 2001, shortly after marrying his high school sweetheart, Alyssa. After his final deployment, he learned that his wife would be expecting later that year. Unfortunately, he never saw his child. His services were held in the same church where both he and his wife were baptized, confirmed, and married. In the local paper, his uncle was quoted as saying, "Michael is the kind of man every man wishes to be." Now, those are just two of the 301 stories that were in that field over the weekend. And if you were up there, you saw people sitting in front of the flags having conversations with fathers and uncles and sisters and mothers. There were people that traveled from southern Ohio to see individuals that were on that field. Council, in front of you, you'll see a list of the 301 names, their service, branch, as well as their hometown and date killed in action. I would just make a friendly request that those names be added into correspondence this evening. With that, I thank you. Nothing further.
Thank you. The auditor is not with us this evening. The treasurer's report.
Madam Chairman, our money keeps coming in. We now have $32,584.64. Thank you.
Thank you. The law director's report.
Nothing right now.
Thank you. The safety service director's report.
Thank you, Madam President. I just had a couple things to share. The mayor and I attended yesterday a meeting with other government officials, local government officials, hosted by Ottawa County EMA and Ohio EMA, describing the mitigation programs that are available through Ohio EMA in the state of Ohio that may be available to the residents within the county and here within Portland. I know we tried to get the word out to many of the business owners and to residents that have been affected by the historic high water. Many were there last night. We have some plans to conduct a meeting hopefully in the next week, working with EMA and doing some assessments on the current damage to our properties, to put together a plan that likely could be addressed by one of the programs that were introduced last night by Ohio EMA, and I anticipate being able to report further on that at the next council meeting. The only other thing I wanted to share was just a recognition to our wastewater treatment plant. Has been obviously very burdened for the last 80-some days with the amount of high water that we've seen because of just the sheer amount of water that we're getting from Lake Erie and our combined system. Many of the areas that are affected by this high water are also in that combined area. And they have been working around the clock to keep our facilities in order, and at the same time preparing for an inspection from Ohio EPA and anticipating what the outcome of such a visit might have been. That occurred today, and I'm proud of Mr. Basak and his staff, and happy to report to you that there were no issues whatsoever, even though we have found ourselves running nonstop literally for 80+ days, a few times beyond capacity. To come away from an inspection like that, I think says a lot for the character and the work that's being done by the folks there. And I just want to publicly let everybody know what a great job they've done with that. So that's all I have this evening, Madam President.
Thank you. Police chief's report.
Add to Mayor Snyder's comments about the flags of honor. Jonathan Martin was one of them that was killed in the. I got to meet Jonathan. He was in the Air National Guard at the time we had the tornado in the early 2000s. John's detachment was sent here. John rode around with me many of a night during that. John later enlisted. And his sister is Heather Bollinger. She's a deputy with the Ottawa County Sheriff's Office, and thank you for allowing me to participate in that way. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Our fire chief is attending training this evening. For correspondence, the auditor sent his month-end reports for June of 2019. And I also have, for correspondence, the flags of honor listing the 301 fallen soldiers and heroes. I ask for a motion to approve the correspondence.
Madam President, I move to accept and approve the correspondence with the addendum list.
Thank you for that. Ms. Phillips, a second from Mr. Friedman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Correspondence stands approved as stated, and as amended, adding the flags of honor soldiers. We'll now move to the readings of ordinances and resolutions. This evening, we have no third readings. We'll move to the second reading, which is ordinance 20-19. Will the clerk please read by title and summary only ordinance 20-19?
Ordinance 20-19, an ordinance creating a designated outdoor refreshment area for the city of Port Clinton, enacting regulations and declaring an emergency.
Does council wish to take any action on ordinance 20-19? Seeing none, ordinance 20-19 will be moved to its third reading at our next regular council meeting on July 23rd, 2019.
Madam President,
Mr. Belo?
the Planning and Development Committee will take up ordinance 20 at the July 23rd meeting scheduled at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. We have no new readings this evening, so we'll move to business from the floor. This evening, we'll start with Mrs. Sardi.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd just like to thank the committee and Mayor Schneider and everyone that volunteered to help with the events on 4th of July. It's always very nice. Roseanne and I helped with the squirt gun run, which is always fun. I had quite a few people this year. You should come out next year if you can't walk. You can at least stand there and get people wet. That's always fun. And thank you also for the flags of honor, as you told Robert. Thank you for bringing them here. It was nice to see, sad to see that many, but it was an experience. I'm glad that I got to walk through. Also, I went to the first shot at Camp Fury for the national matches yesterday. I don't know if everyone's aware, but the national matches are moving next year. They won't be at Camp Fury any longer. So if you hadn't been able to go, I've done for about 7 years. It's a very interesting and moving service that they do. So we had someone parachute in, the big flag and everything. So that is all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Friedman?
I just wanted to say that the Flags of Honor was awesome. It was really well done. Every time I went by, you could always see tons of people out there. On top of that, I want to thank all the city workers that kept the city nice and clean over the weekend. I haven't seen that many people on the beach since I moved here. That was in 2000. So, even though half the beach is closed, the rest of it was just packed. That was it. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Friedman. Mrs. Hickman?
I'm just going to reiterate what everyone has said. Thank you, Mayor Snyder and your committee for the 4th of July festivities. There were lots of people around. And the flags of honor, just every time you drove by it, it was beautiful. There were people everywhere. So I thank you for your hard work. I know that was not an easy task to make it happen that quickly, but kudos to you and all of those involved in the ceremony. And city workers, thank everybody for coming out and doing everything they did all weekend. Thank you to our community and our visitors for overlooking our high water and doing the best to go around any roadblocks and take side roads. And it was an obstacle course to get around and accomplish what they set out to do. And I understand that a photo made National Geographic taken in front of Fisherman's Wharf. You see the water swirling. It is probably one of the neatest photos I've ever seen. And it made National Geographic. I saw a lot of people sharing it today on Facebook, so that's kind of cool. Thank you for all of those who came out and helped with the squirt gun run. All those proceeds will benefit women in our community attending college, whether they are graduating seniors or adult women returning to school. And I think we had 141, I believe. So most of those people were from out of town, and they come back every year just to participate. And it was nice to see everybody out there helping us. And if you don't want to run or walk it, come out next year. We'll gladly hand you a bucket of water and a squirt gun. So most people definitely look forward to it. And as Joel said, that beach was packed. I could not believe it for being, and it's so nice to see people utilizing the beach all the way down now. I mean, there were families out there early in the morning, all weekend. So that was really nice to see that, you know, the visitors and locals enjoying our city beach. And that is it, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hickman. Ms. Phillips?
Thank you, Madam President. I agree with everything that's been said to this point. If you couldn't find something to do over the weekend, you really weren't looking. Additionally, I went to the Ottawa County Family Advocacy Open House, which is in South McKinley, and it's just a marvelous setup. You can't imagine how much is in there and what they do until you actually sit and listen to somebody speak. They have units in there, including CASA. They have summer lunch programs being directed from within there. They have something called Tickets to Success. They have the headquarters for TNT Mentoring. And they also have something known as Grand Love, which is grandparents who are handling their grandchildren who cannot live with their natural parents. Very well done, all under one place, and it's a great place to see. If you really have a question, somebody in there should be able to give you an answer. The second thing that I have to say is the Emergency Services Committee meeting, which would have been next week. I'm postponing that one until August 20th, which would be the August meeting. And that's it. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Mrs. Gilman?
I can't add anything that they've said it all, they've covered it, but an additional thank you, Larry and Jared in the back, the mayor, the safety service director, the people, the workers in the city, on top of attending these events and in the how they have to perform and give speeches. The mayor and Mr. Martin were at the FEMA talk last night. There were a lot of tough questions. A lot of people compliment how they handle themselves and how they at least address their concerns. And that was good to hear from this side of the table. Lots of compliments toward both of them. Just wanted to pass that on to them. Nothing else, Madam President.
Thank you. Mr. Hill?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Mr. Philo?
Nothing, Madam President, thank you.
Seeing no further business?
Madam President, I move this August body adjourned.
Second from Mrs. Sardi. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.